Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And we are back We are back again today for another episode. We had 2 other episodes running this week. We talked about Sonic the Hedgehog with Phillip Price, who's our guest. And Phillip will be back at the end of this episode, so stay tuned for the disconnect and connect between audiences and critics.
So it's a great in-depth discussion.
It really is. It's really good.
It's actually a good discussion.
It's actually
We're
intelligent.
not just ribbing each other and making fun of each other.
Exactly. And also earlier this week, we reviewed and talked about Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 1.
There you go.
So check that out as well. So we're back. So let's talk about some news in the Geekosphere. Let's hit you with today.
Baby.
What happened? A big thing in the news is talking about Star Wars. God damn, I cannot talk. We've been working hard.
It's been a long day. We've been like all around South Arkansas.
Damn, we have been. We've been shooting all kinds of stuff. Okay, so Star Wars: The High Republic. It is the new initiative by Lucasfilm. It is talking about. We knew it's Project Luminous, and we kind of wonder what's happening. There was rumors and speculation that it's basically going to be set in the past, and it was right. So they have comic books, they have novels, they have probably video games, and it definitely seems like even films may be on the way. We're going to be 1,000 years in the past before the Skywalker saga. Daniel, how do you feel about that?
I feel like it's the safe way to go.
Right.
And that disappoints me because it feels like they maybe haven't learned anything from the Skywalker saga debacle. I think, it's so safe because you don't have to worry about any of the other characters, but you're not having to like progress the universe anyway. You can be like, oh, it was like this in the past. It's just, I don't know.
I agree. It
just feels like soft. It just feels soft.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel confident. It feels like reactionary.
Well, we had this kind of conversation a little bit earlier today for the podcast, but to me, for some reason, even though I don't know what's going to happen, like knowing that it's a prequel and like I know where eventually, even as 1,000 years later, what's going to happen, there's something there, like a mental block for me. It's like
it feels less significant.
It does.
It matters less.
Why couldn't it have been 1,000 years in the future? What would have been the difference?
Yeah, and then we would feel like we're seeing something unfold and we don't know what happens.
Exactly.
Because I think
difference.
It removes some of the mystery. We know what the galaxy ultimately gets to.
Exactly.
And unless this has I did say, and I do think, the only way I think it would work well is if you set up some kind of plotline story that you tell throughout this past timeline, and at the end of that, you leave some sort of Easter egg or a thread or something that is then picked up thousands of years in the future, past the Skywalker saga, thousands of years after, and they're like, maybe there's some old, temple that is used, and then thousands and thousands of years later, they discover it, and it kind of picks up where the plot was left in that High Alliance kind of, arc. That's the only way I think you really make this feel significant in the face of everything else that's happened in Star Wars. But yeah, I agree. I'm all for more Star Wars in general, as long as they're well told stories and interesting worlds and stuff like that. So if that is what this is, great. But I still feel like it could have been more potentially.
Right. I agree with you. And speaking of Star Wars, some big news over at Disney today. Bob Iger has finally stepped down as CEO of Disney. He's been quoted, and I want to paraphrase here, that he's been doing it for a long time. After the success of Disney's streaming service, Disney Plus, it's finally time for him to step down. He was initially going to step down a few years ago, and then the Fox acquisition happened, so he's going to step down after that. I think I extended his contract to 2018, and then it got extended to 2019, then it got to 21. So he's going to stay on as not chief executive officer, some type of something.
It's like the chairman of the board?
Chairman of the board, yeah, until December this year. And Bob Chapek Chapek, how you want to say that? Another Bob has taken the place. Another Bob.
But they all have to be Bobs.
Yeah, exactly. He's taken the place, and I think he was the you may have known this, the guy who ran the parks.
He was like the CEO of Disney Parks and Activity. I don't know. It basically seems like he ran all of their live attraction type stuff from a top level.
Well, it sounds like
I don't think he was like fixing the brides on the weekends.
I think Bob has had to stay. He's made his billions, and
some better billions than other billions.
True, and does that worry you, or about Disney and Star Wars and Marvel, or does it kind of like? Do you think they just kind of like, let them do it their own thing, and kind of thing?
I don't think it'll have any impact on Marvel. I think anyone that steps in there is going to realize, hey, these guys got it figured out. They don't need any help.
Don't
touch it.
Don't mess with the secret
don't touch
sauce.
it's not broke, right?
Yeah,
No?
right.
But I don't know if it scares me for Star Wars as much as it maybe intrigues me for what could, because I do think there's a real chance that whoever they bring in as the permanent CEO could see, I don't know, just might have a fresh perspective on the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, and what went wrong and what you could do to kind of go forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's very likely that whoever they hire is just another guy that's been at Disney for years, and so he's just kind of a part of the group think that's already there.
Right.
But I do. It's like that hope, like, oh, maybe someone will be the CEO that like gets Star Wars.
Right.
Like, like that's the hope, but it's probably really far fetched.
Well, speaking of new adventures and new worlds, Jurassic World today started production. Today, day 1 of 100. Chris Pratt tweeted out today, and we got the official title to the movie. It is called Jurassic Park Dominion. That's a weird title to me.
I like, honestly, I think they should change it to Jurassic Park generic title or generic subtitle, because it's the most like.
I don't think Dominion is actually generic at all. I think I've never heard that.
It's like a classic subtitle to like a sequel movie.
I've never heard
like.
Dominion,
but it feels like one of those. Like we may not have heard Dominion specifically, but it's just like all the words we hear all the time that are the subtitles.
I honestly, and this is the most generic one of all time, and I kind of would like it. Jurassic World Extinction. That makes sense.
No, it does.
That
can actually make sense in the world.
It does. That's
Dominion is like, what are the dinosaurs going to become sentient and start taking over? Is this going to be like Planet of the Apes with dinosaurs? Because that kind of sounds good.
There was and this is sidebar. There was a thing initially, like scripts or concept art even made, where there was like mutated dinosaurs where they
like have consciousness, and
they had like basically kind of like like humanoid looking figures, but like raptor heads, and they had guns. This is a real thing that was
for the Jurassic Park franchise.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been wild?
Wow, was this for like Jurassic Park 3?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe for 3,
like pre-pro or for 4 that never happened.
Something. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Huh.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Here's something that's also kind of interesting for you. Speaking of world-altering and extinction-level events, the coronavirus is kind of plaguing the world right now.
Indeed.
And right now, Mission Impossible 7 just got shut down in Italy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were going to be there for 3 weeks. I think not 3 weeks, but they got pushed back 3 weeks to kind of see what happens. This thing is kind of like, this coronavirus is knocking down like China release dates. Like I think Sonic, but it's not shown in China now.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I don't know if you've listened, like been up on the video game side of things. It's been pretty impactful. PlayStation, as well as EA, neither are going to be at GDC, which is a big developers conference.
Yeah. What does that stand for? Games Day, or I don't even know.
Game Developers Conference.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think they're. I think they pulled out of PAX West. I think.
PAX West.
And I think it's one of the PAXs, and it's like PAX is one of the biggest community events in the world for video games. Yeah, and that's huge deals, because PlayStation, especially because this is a launch year for PlayStation 5.
It's huge.
And so this is going to be their biggest year of marketing probably for the next 8 years. Like they're probably going to spend more on marketing this year than in the next 8.
Oh, for sure.
Just because it's such a big deal, and it's such a big deal who comes out the gates hot on the next generation of consoles. Yeah. So for them to be pulling out of, and there may be some more worries, being that they're a East Asia country, like Sony's based in Japan,
right,
which is very close to China. And you obviously have a lot more business crossover between Japan and China,
makes
Hong
sense.
Kong, and Tokyo and stuff. So it does make sense that they would be nervous, but it is like, ooh,
it's interesting.
This is changing things that are significant things. Like, it feels like it's having a more impact on entertainment than I've seen before.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Like I remember H1N1 in college, but I wasn't really tapped into the entertainment world. I wouldn't have known if it necessarily delayed things. But like that's the last. I mean, I guess what was the other virus from Africa recently? You would know it if I said it.
Probably.
It has like a distinctive word. I can't even think of it.
I don't know.
But yeah, I do feel like this is like the first time I think of like, oh yeah, movies delayed, game companies backing out of events.
Well, hopefully everyone will get back to feeling better and
stop being sick.
And stop being sick, and
stop coughing on airplanes.
Hopefully we'll have someone come in and save the world. And speaking of saving the world, Batman set photos happened last week. Joker, we had a podcast with Andrew Sweatman.
Indeed.
Go check that out, the review, and we also discussed a little bit about the Batman set photo reveal, or not even set photo, or not reveal.
It was just the suit reveal.
The suit reveal, yeah. Well, since then we've, of course, as I speculated, we have had Batman doing some motorcycle stunts with what we presume is Catwoman. And we got some more looks at the suit, which is interesting. But here's the thing I want to show you, and I think you haven't seen this yet.
Ooh.
This got leaked, I think today or yesterday, but apparently it's a victim of possibly the Riddler. Right? Ooh. Check this out. And to me, this gets like a really
like secret, like murder mystery, like serial killer.
Yeah.
So we're getting like a serial killer Riddler.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
like a
maybe something like, or like Seven, kind of like really detective-y.
I hope so. That makes me really happy. I really want that.
And that's what they keep talking about. Remember, he says, "Hey, let's get into the detective side of Batman." And we've touched upon it in other movies.
Little bit. I mean,
it's more
Nolan's
like
trilogy had it, but it was more like high-tech detective stuff.
Yeah, it really was. But this feels like to me like this is the again. Batman meets Seven. That's the movie I want to watch. Like,
that looks cool. I mean, you should look it up. It looks great. It looks very creepy in like the best way.
Yeah, it's a leaked image or supposedly leaked image of it, and I mean, hopefully it's right. It's on Reddit. Go check that out.
Yeah, as far as the suit, the better pictures we got, I am not sold on it yet. It looks a little weird so far to me. It looks like medieval-y in ways that are just
it looks more
funky.
Arkham Knight kind of or armored up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think,
and that's also the stunt suit. And keep in mind, the stunt suit always does not look good as the prime
and who knows,
suit.
They may slim that down in post. You know what I mean? They may take some weight off of that with with effects.
They could literally change the whole suit. In post,
I'm still excited for the movie. Yeah. Like I'm still into it.
Me too. Speaking of Batman, we got some even other news about big giant people leaving corporations. Dan Didio, longstanding chief officer over at DC Comics, he has been fired from AT&T. As we all know, AT&T bought Warner Brothers and the big merger over there, right? So that's happening, and that's kind of a big deal because we did have Jeff Johns, who ended up leaving for the creative for television side. And if you don't know, Jeff Johns has been like a giant creator
I know the name.
In comics and just DC in general. And then we have Jim Lee, who Jim Lee also was, he used to draw for Marvel, for X-Men in the 90s. And then he went off and did Image with Todd McFarlane. And then he kind of come back to DC, and he's been a big main staple there with Dan Didio. And then now Didio has left, and it's been rumored that like apparently Jim Lee was like, "What the fuck do I do now?" Like, apparently been heard in the hallway saying like, "What do I do?" Like, I wasn't like I'm kind of just been Jim Lee, like just be Jim Lee, and now have to run a company. And apparently, here's why he was fired. Dan Didio, AT&T, is kind of nervous about the comic side of things, and Dan Didio has this thing called a 5G initiative, basically saying, as we know in comics are rebooted all the time, and there's new universes and new timelines and new canon. This is like supposed to be like the 5th generation and kind of like, Batman's predecessor, Superman's predecessor, all this good stuff. And it's supposed to kind of put Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent and all these other people back, a little bit and kind of get away from them to kind of get more characters and more readers in the new generation, right? That's why it's called 5G, 5 generation. But apparently people like Scott Snyder, who is also a Batman fame, head right on that for the New 52. Apparently they clashed a little bit, some reports about that, and some big stuff there. But here's the big thing: DC Comics may be going out of business. Comic sales aren't that great, I guess.
That would just be. I mean, surely they get picked up.
80
right?
years.
Surely someone buys
to.
the rights to them.
I don't think Warner Brothers would let that go.
You mean just let it die?
Yeah, I mean, Warner,
not sell it, but not continue it.
Yeah, I mean, just the comic side of things. Of course, they're going to keep making toys and everything else.
Movies,
and movies. But you feel like games. I don't know. There's something there. Like this got I don't know. There's. But
that would just be a weird world where, let's say someone else bought DC Comics, and DC Comics is its own thing, and DC television and movies is its own thing, and DC games are its own thing, and none of them connect.
Yeah, no, it'd be weird.
That would just be like, wow, it's not
know.
the kind of world you want to live in.
I don't know. And here's the other thing. Here's another rumor. Again, a rumor that Marvel may be looking into buying or
that makes
absolving
sense.
DC Comics.
That makes sense.
It does, but I don't know.
But you think then what that tells me is Disney's in for the movie. They're going to get them. That's the long game then.
Ooh.
I think that's what they want. I think Disney for 100% wants to say, we know we could make tons of money off Superman, tons of money off Batman. Those are huge IPs. Huge characters in the world.
The biggest story of all time.
As far as recognizable superheroes.
Is Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. That's always been the big
exactly.
So always been the big
and a Marvel-made movie in those would probably be really good.
Yeah.
It'd probably make a couple billion.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking at that saying, this is money waiting for us to be had. I mean, those are probably worth $10 billion to Disney.
Oh,
they're willing to pay that.
Way more than that shit.
You think? Really?
Yeah. For
Lucasfilm,
DC,
you think Lucasfilm was worth $4 billion and DC movies would be worth more than 10?
really? That was $4 billion. They got Star Wars.
$4 billion.
I'd give DC 2 then.
2 billion?
2 billion, or maybe 2.5.
Yeah, because you got to say you would think that most people would assume that Star Wars has more profitable.
Here's the kicker.
Potential.
Well, here's the kick. I don't know. Here's the kicker. Superman is probably more universal as a character than Star Wars is. I mean, look at China. Look at overseas.
But China but Star Wars took over China when it released.
Didn't China? Star Wars is awful in China.
Did it really?
Oh,
Are you sure?
Yeah, they didn't even release the original trilogy. They didn't release the original trilogy until after I think leading up to episode 1 or whatever. That's why there's not a huge cultural mainstay in China like there is over here in the States, because China just didn't have it growing up like we did. Like it's been generationally passed down for us, but back then, or for China, it's not that way. So it always has it always has a hard time, like especially with the new movies. Like it does not do.
I don't know why I thought they did so well. Probably just because of the Chinese theater. I don't know.
Yeah, oh, that's different. That's different.
I mean, it connects. In tangential. In my mind, it makes sense.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. I think I've always said this. I said that the characters of DC Comics, and just the storylines in general in the comics, are always been better than Marvel. And Spider-Man's my boy, but always been better than Marvel. And just Marvel's just been better. It was the movie side of it. DC is better about everything else. They're better comics. They're better action figures.
I mean, I definitely feel that way. I mean, I feel like that's the known thing with the sort of Batman comics. Like the Batman comics are like God tier,
yes.
right? Like
compared to yes, I mean,
in terms of just comics in general, there's some of like the best. Like some of those runs are like considered some of the best comic runs of all time.
The Scott Snyder run specifically is like
I would say one.
I would say God tier. Yeah, I would say his best run of all time. Anyway, it's fascinating. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Real quick, Daniel. Funny enough, I didn't watch Picard this time.
That's true.
So give me the real quick 5-minute rundown.
Do you want plot or you just want reaction?
I want reaction for episodes 4 and 5.
Okay, 4 for me was a lot more the same. A lot of dialogue. A lot of the episode had a lot of conversations. At the end, it got a bit more interesting, and we kind of met this kind of ninja guy that's pretty cool. I'm into it so far. I like the guy they introduced.
I like ninjas.
He's a cool character. He's kind of like one of those like a part of like the deadliest group of ninjas ever in the galaxy. You know, like one of those.
Of course.
Your typical like
badass
combat expert. But he's also like his personality's interesting. All that. Episode 5 had actual good action. We kind of had a heist plot, which was really fun. Like you almost got this like Ocean's 11 feel at one point.
Yeah.
To episode 5. A lot more is happening. Like you're actually having things happen. Plot is moving along, and not for conversations, from actual action and dialogue with action and dialogue. You know, like it's moving alongside. That was a much better paced episode. I will say I'm not still sold on this show. Like I love Jean-Luc Picard. Jean-Luc Picard is one of my favorite television characters of all time. Like he's just he's such a perfect, and The Next Generation is one of the best TV shows that has ever been on TV. And I think that's from a quality standard, even just an impact standard. Like the ground that was broken by really all Star Treks, but especially the original series and Next Generation. They just did things that didn't happen on TV.
So you don't think Picard yet has really justified its existence other than a cash grab?
I mean, it's hard to argue with seeing Sir Patrick Stewart on TV or on screen because he's just such a beautiful actor.
Right.
And I think at this point, I'm not willing to say that. At this point, I do think maybe with I'm assuming there's 10 episodes here.
Yeah,
I think
there's
that's
10,
right.
I believe.
So the final 5 episodes, they've got, I mean, I'm actually surprised where they got to. They've gotten farther along in the plot than I actually anticipated them to.
Okay. The opposite of what happened earlier. Yeah.
Well, it feels like we have like 2 episodes where nothing happens, a lot of conversation, and then 1 episode where tons happens.
Okay.
Anyway, it could turn around. I hope to God it does. It may be one of the most shows I'm like rooting for to be good. But yeah, I'm still out on it.
Yep, it's got 10 episodes.
Okay.
So
we'll see.
We're halfway in. So
We'll see.
You're still
I'm
in.
still in.
Of course.
I mean, I'm probably going to watch it no matter what. But I mean, if it just falls on its flat face, then yeah, I'll stop. But yeah, I'm still in. I'm still enjoying it.
Okay, cool. I'll catch it up and we'll hit back next week for, episode 6.
Yep.
And I'll watch 4, 5, and 6. So I'll have a good little trilogy of episodes.
Yeah, you'll get a little
through.
context in a bigger package.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. It'd be like a little movie night.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's weird. So here's the show that I really like. Funny enough, it's not our thumbnail, but
The show we talk about the most is not the one we promote.
It's not. Hashtag Picard. It's The Outsider on HBO.
Yeah.
All right, let's give our 5. You know what? Let's give it an extra minute. Let's give our 6-minute rundown. These last 2 episodes.
The plot.
No, just general our reactions.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
plot's
Because
not really a lot's happened plot wise. I mean,
I'm trying to remember the episode before this. She gets away from the cop with the bubbles.
Right.
Pretty smart.
Bubble
it
cop.
worked well. I liked it.
It was good. It had a lot of good tension. You got to learn a bit more about like how he's feeling about it.
Yeah,
and
you start empathizing with him.
Yeah, and
which I think is nice.
Yeah, it was. And you see Ben Mendelsohn's character, him kind of slowly, kind of getting more
finally
information,
accepting what he's seeing.
Sort of, kind of. He's playing along and not being a dick about it. At least, yeah. He even went to. I think in this episode he went to his therapist, right?
It was one of them. He does go to his therapist and kind of talks. He doesn't talk about it directly, but he kind of hints at it.
He's kind of like, you could tell he's trying, at least on some level.
He's struggling to believe. I think he knows that it's the truth. It is just that struggle to admit that it's the truth, and I get that.
And it was good. It was a good, well-paced episode. And it was.
And then episode 6 was it 6?
This is 8.
Oh yeah, we have 2 episodes.
We have 2 episodes left.
Wow. Yeah. So then it continues. Episode 8 really continues with that because it's kind of by the end of episode 8, he actually, like, it's the first time where he is in his face. He can't deny it,
and
because it's that evidence, right? They have like someone on camera or something.
Yeah.
What is it again? I'm trying to recall the exact plot point, but they like.
Oh, basically.
Oh, they
record.
They keep him at a different place, and then they have video of him somewhere else, right?
Which is so interesting. Not interesting, but it is. But the thing that's cool about that is like,
they
do a very simple yet like, we're just gonna go get him, and we're gonna wait till this thing happens, and that's
smart.
It's smart.
It's like what you always want people to do in horror films.
Exactly.
And it works. And it's smart.
The only bad thing is, and I guess they really have no thing to really know if anything's happening, that they're kind of letting someone either get hurt
but they got lucky because we had, and that was a really great part of that episode too. That whole tension where they showed that family in the RV, and you just knew. You saw those kids, you're like, okay, those are going to be victims.
Yeah.
And then they get to there, and the whole like him getting, but it was also really interesting to see the monster get tackled by people.
Well, I think that was totally intentional. The monster.
You think he wanted to get caught like that?
Yeah, he needed his face. He needed to be like basically setting up the rap sheet for this guy. He needed to be like, I got caught.
But they have proof that. But I guess he didn't know that.
He didn't know that they had him. He didn't know that what the other guy was doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I assume, right?
No,
so to me,
it doesn't seem like he's all knowing.
This was definitely to me like, I'm going to basically be in a crowd and show that like I'm a guy who does this to kids, because he's smarter than that. He did that on
pretty
purpose.
Dang smart.
What he didn't count on was our heroes or protagonists. They're actually already ahead of the monster for the first time, and basically ruined his plan. So not only does Mid Mendelsohn, I believe you 100% now, we exonerated this guy already. So basically, you absorbed one guy for no reason now.
Yeah. And it takes him time to like recover from that and shed that skin and stuff. So he's basically wasted a transformation almost.
Wasted a transformation, yeah. So to me, that was cool. Like, it's the first time our heroes got ahead of him. And
got the upper hand. Yeah,
exactly. And also you got some great stuff.
And it feels earned though.
It is fun.
And we're episode 8. Well, not too late. Like, it feels like, okay, this feels like, man, it's such a good show. It's such paced well.
In episode 9, it's going to go opposite direction. The pendulum's going to switch, though, because...
episode 9 is where everything's going to go to shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the monster is going to maybe... I think people will die in episode 9. Yeah. Who knows who?
The penultimate
people
episode.
Will die. Everything will seem like it's hopeless by the end of it.
Of course.
And then episode 10's the final act.
Here's what I'm thinking. I bet money. I don't know her name, but she's going to die. Or main woman girl.
The black girl?
Yeah, she'll die.
The only reason I don't think that is that there's a season 2.
No, she's gone.
I don't think so.
He's gone.
I think she lives. I think her boyfriend does, because he showed up. He's there now.
I think he. That's a good.
I think he does.
That's good, but like how?
And she's like finally opening up to a relationship.
But she's it's the most poetic thing for her to die, because then it's like the person who brought us this, who learned all this stuff, and then Ben has finally come across to do it. I feel like it would be the most for Ben's character arc. For her to die.
I don't know, but she's basically become the other protagonist.
She's kind of more of a protagonist than Ben is.
She has been the last like 5 or 6 episodes.
Which is out of 8.
Which is interesting.
Think about that.
Yeah, like since she came on, she's been maybe like, I mean, she's probably had most of the screen time.
She's, splits it, with Ben. And Ben's been stagnant since,
Well, he hasn't done much.
We gotta learn these characters'
much.
names. It's for one thing. Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah. Well, I think her boyfriend will die just because he's a good character and he's very likable, and you like him and you want them to be together. He will die, which will turn her basically into a monster hunter, which I think that's what season 2 does. I mean, I don't think this monster's getting away. I think they got to kill him.
In that case, do you think Ben is this is like
He could be a victim, or I don't know.
Or I mean, here's the thing: do you think he'll come out for season 2 and this will
What if
become her show?
what if season 2 is like a buddy cop with her and him hunting down these monsters?
Yeah, you fucking give it to me.
That'd be fun.
That's what I want.
That'd be really fun. They have really good dynamic.
I mean, one thing of Arkansas fame, Graham Gordy, he did mention. I think he tweeted whenever episode 1 came out. He said, "I've been in the writers' room for season 2."
And he's read all of the scripts for season 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said season 2. I think I'm paraphrasing.
crazy or
gets
something.
crazier, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what does that
We
mean?
need Graham on the show. What are we
Graham,
doing?
what are you
Graham,
doing?
come on, buddy. Come on down. Come get on our
You
show.
know what? We'll call him when we're ready for him.
That's true. you get in line, buddy.
Yeah, please.
Get in the fucking line.
You
We
know
had
what?
Phillip Price on, and I don't know if you've heard of him, but you should have.
Yeah, no cutsies here at
Yeah.
Podcast 2 for 1.
Yeah.
At all.
Unless you pay money. I don't know. We'll
That's
let you
true.
bribe your way in.
That's true. We had lights go out. Well, we will. There's a spoiler for you.
In the future.
In the future. There you go. Yeah. Ooh, the Wayne's World or yeah, you know the thing. Yeah. Anyway, so outsider good, Picard bad.
So far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Or outsider good, Picard man.
Yeah, Picard man.
It's not bad. It's bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I will watch them and I'll catch up and we'll have next week's reaction for The Outsider.
Oh yeah.
Pretty soon. So we're getting done with that one and Picard's wrapping up. And of course, if you want to go back and I may have mentioned this already, but I'm gonna do it again. Shameless plug. Go back and listen to our episode of Sonic the Hedgehog and Star Wars,
With Phillip Price.
season 7, episode 1, Clone Wars. So that's also happening this week. We'll be back next week, of course, too. But hey, you ready to go over to Phillip?
Let's get to Phillip.
All right, cool.
Let's get him in here.
And we're back, but this time we are with
Phillip Price. Thanks for having me, guys.
yeah, of course.
Again, you're with
Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction. That's the YouTube channel. Check it out. It's movie reviews on a weekly basis of the biggest releases. So
Perfect.
Beautiful.
And if you were watching earlier this week, we reviewed Sonic the Hedgehog. If you want to check out our thoughts on that, Daniel didn't watch it, of course, but you can he can sit here in the middle and look pretty, and we can bounce back and forth. And you can
I bring
hear-
up a few.
they brought up.
pertinent
Yeah,
topics.
I was gonna say.
I kind of anchored the
Really-
discussion.
you really did.
added
You
to
really
the
need to watch it
conversation.
to understand how I anchored it.
if honestly, if you weren't there, we would just probably started drooling. The entire
They were dropping the balls, and I picked them up.
Yeah, thank you for the ball picking.
Yep.
So anyway, we are here with Phillip, and we have a very important. Well, see, Phillip, he reviews movies on a weekly basis, right? And
Indeed.
and we try to do that sometimes successfully, sometimes
We don't actually try.
unsuccessfully.
We review what we want when we want, and we just tell you to deal with.
Yeah, and we've had some
You're not our
very
moms.
very hot debates on certain movies. Example, The Last Jedi, where I particularly really enjoyed the movie and Daniel did not. And on the inverse, Rise of Skywalker, where we both had issues and we have our own opinions about it.
We had a lot to talk about.
So it kind of brings to our question, Phillip. Is there a disconnect between critics and people who are paid or just doing this like how we are for fun? Has an audience. Is there a disconnect between those people and the people who are like the everyday moviegoers, the audience people who are paying for the ticket? An example again, like Last Jedi has like a 94, 96% Rotten Tomatoes.
And like what, 30% user score?
Yeah,
Something like
and
that.
it made $1.2 billion, but as we know, it kind of divided our fan base. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, broad.
That's a broad
picture.
discussion.
Broad
Yeah,
picture.
it's a
I
very,
think
very broad
absolutely. I don't think there's any way there can't be simply by virtue of the fact that movie critics, like you said, like I see at least one new release every week.
Right.
I don't get paid for it or anything.
Yeah,
I just
right.
like going.
Because get off your asses, audience.
But I just like going to the movies. I like
Right.
seeing everything I can, broaden the pool of knowledge and all that good stuff, right? But by virtue of that, I see 10 times more movies than the average person who goes 2 to 3 times a year. I remember talking to somebody because I try to get a new guest on my show every week.
Right.
And usually somebody who has some kind of involvement in the film community or in media in Central Arkansas or something like that. And they're like, thanks for asking, but really I saw Bohemian Rhapsody and A Star is Born last year. I wouldn't really be a good voice for this. And I was like, really?
Wow.
Like, and which kind of got me thinking, like, how many, I think about my parents, they maybe see 5 new releases a year at the theater.
Wow, yeah.
And that's if 2 of them are like the whole family goes. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah, your family event.
So, yeah, I think just like obviously Bohemian Rhapsody, just to pull that one out of the back pocket, made a butt ton of money.
Yeah,
that was another one that like
Made a butt ton of
right
money.
had critical
Yes.
issues.
Made like I
Yeah.
think 800. Wait, did it cross $1 billion? I think it made 800 million. I think was around.
It won best editing, which everyone was amazed at.
It won.
I think though, I'm sure you heard like the rumor was that the reason it won best editing because it was such a shit production. That
Oh,
it was
and they
like such a
cobbled it together.
mess.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, I can't believe you made anything out of this.
Right.
Kind of like,
It
you
made-
deserve this because you actually did the most work.
Yeah.
Out of anyone.
It made 903 million on a 50 to 65 million dollar budget, which is pretty good return.
Wow.
That's pretty good return.
I'm surprised the budget was that low.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that.
I
kind of
guess
movie.
Queen was involved, so they didn't have as much like licensing fees, probably.
Right. Yeah. And
but-
see, so there was, and critics didn't like that. The Queen was involved, so they got
Yeah.
to narrate their own.
Because there was a lot
biopic.
and I think too, there was just a lot of hubbub before that movie. Because Sacha Baron Cohen
Right.
was directing first, right?
And he was gonna. I mean, he was
And-
gonna be Freddie Mercury.
And he I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And he left
it was gonna be
because
R-rated.
how awful like Queen was to work with.
Yeah, because I think originally Queen wanted the script where Freddie Mercury died halfway through.
Yeah, and then the rest of the movie's
it was
about them. And
And
everyone's
he
like,
was like, no.
no one fucking cares
the
about the rest of
story's
you.
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
And
That's interesting. And then
so-
Bryan Singer took over, and then there was a scandal with Bryan Singer. Oh man, yeah.
And then
he ended up being the final director.
he's credited.
he's credited, but
the guy who directed Rocket
Man.
Man.
Yeah.
He ended up
What's his
actually.
name?
I'm guessing he got Rocket Man because of that.
I think he was he's like involved in Matthew Vaughn and Guy Ritchie's production company
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Which is, I think.
Oh, Dexter Fletcher.
Dexter Fletcher.
Yeah,
that's it.
that's it.
Yeah, he finished up Bohemian, but yeah, like Rocket Man.
This is a Bohemian Rhapsody Rocket Man podcast.
I like it. I like it. I haven't
love
seen
it.
either.
Have
They're
you
great.
seen- okay, have
I
you seen
want,
Rocket
I,
Man?
honestly,
I've seen both, yeah.
I don't have a lot of reason. I don't have a lot of desire to see Bohemian Rhapsody.
There you go.
But just because from what I've heard, it's not that like factually accurate.
I mean, yeah,
It's a
From
film.
what it's seen, it
Who
feels like
knows?
kind of a puff piece.
It's a movie.
yeah.
And versus Rocket Man, but part of it's too. I don't know. It just John Legend is awesome.
I mean,
And-
Elton John.
That's who I meant. Yeah, we're just
John
gonna pretend.
Legend.
Daniel's
like
been looking.
I know things.
Daniel's been looking at that People's Sexiest Man Alive issue too much.
That's where I found the Sonic porn. That's an Easter egg. You got to watch the Sonic podcast for that.
Sorry, go ahead,
No,
Phillip.
to wrap it, kind of
Yeah,
back
please,
around. Sorry,
please.
get off track here.
Segue
We
us
love
back.
to get off track.
Well, so Bohemian Rhapsody, I'd seen plenty of music biopics before, like Walk the Line, Get On Up,
Yeah.
Ray, all those, and Bohemian Rhapsody didn't do anything to buck those trends that those movies had kind of done before it. Just was kind of like
Another music
a
biopic.
collage of all those.
A really
tropes
well
again.
done version
Yeah,
of those.
with Queen music. So it gets some
Exactly.
points
Which,
for having
yeah,
Queen
Queen
music.
music's
Yeah.
great.
Especially when you see it in the theater and the sound system's awesome. It's
Exactly.
Like, this is awesome.
Like I'm sure, like the Live Aid
Yeah.
commercial,
Like,
like
that's the best
that
part of the
scene,
movie.
like feeling like what it might have actually been to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the best part of the movie for sure. And like that was cool, but like it was an average movie. But audiences seemed
There you
seemed to respond like 10 times more forgivingly than is that a word? Than
It
the
is
critics did. They bashed it because they'd seen this type of movie done this type of way 10 times before.
Well, I think a lot of that, you're right. I mean, it is tied to their perception and their taste. And yeah, you're right. It's so interesting. Like, yeah, what was the Rotten Tomatoes for?
Well, and then Rocket Man tries to do something different,
Yeah,
and
it
is more of a musical.
yeah.
With
is.
how it introduces,
It's like
or how it integrates Elton John's
A
songs
fantasy
into it.
musical.
It sounds like it's
yeah.
more like Across the Universe with
Yeah,
the Beatles.
it is,
which I love that.
Yeah,
it's
and
probably
it's-
my favorite. It's not a biopic, but it's like one of my favorite like artist-inspired movies.
Right.
Have you seen that?
See what?
Across the Universe?
I have not. The Beatles? No.
Yeah.
I have not. I've seen pieces of it.
And Rocket Man did fine, but it didn't do.
No.
And
I think that even he had a better performance than
yeah,
he also sung those songs too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which
like-
Rami Malek looked the part.
He
Yeah.
did.
He
I
looked
can't.
amazing.
You can't like get mad at him for not having the voice of Freddie Mercury, or
I-
even anything
yeah,
close.
yeah.
But like Elton John's definitely easier to mimic. But yeah, like the fact that Rocket Man didn't get the nominations Bohemian Rhapsody
I
did
know.
is kind of
Feels
And
strange.
confusing.
And it's definitely it's more, I'd say not better, has better editing. I mean, like it's interesting. Like the other one is, very needle drop and,
Yeah,
we're going to,
yeah.
have a rhythm to our editing with like the music and stuff. But no, you're right. It's really interesting there. And I wonder if that's because, wonder why that one is, because we just had like a biopic with music, a musical lead, or is that also because
Maybe
people
so.
just like Queen better than Elton John? I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe in America.
That's what I'm saying.
In
Maybe
America, probably Queen is more popular
That's
than Elton
true.
John.
Yeah, Elton John's
In
more
England.
in UK. Yeah.
Really?
I wonder what the English response, like critically, was.
Yeah, see, and I don't know like how overall audiences responded to Rocket Man. I'm not,
Well,
I don't feel like I heard a lot of like I heard people saying it was good,
yeah,
but I don't feel like there was a ton of buzz, like
Right.
like people talking about it actively in forums or on the internet.
Yeah.
Or
but
people
I feel
knew.
like critics really loved it, and we're kind of championing it, and then audiences kind of were just like, meh.
I do, that's a good point. I wonder if it is that, like you said, Bohemian Rhapsody is your typical musical biopic.
Yeah.
You don't even have to, you can watch a trailer and figure that out. But when what? I mean, I guess Straight Outta Compton, maybe the last true music biopic before that, in a very different tone.
Yeah, and
I mean,
that was
a big hit.
I got it with both.
That was a big hit. But even prior to that, what would be like the last? I mean, Walk the Line's all I can think of right now.
Yeah,
but I'm sure there was others.
Get On Up with the James Brown one.
Does that do
See,
very
and
well?
I actually I don't think it did
I don't think I
very
even
well.
remember it.
I don't think it did very well, but it was the summer of 14. I want to say.
So it's been a
came
while.
out right around the first Guardians of the Galaxy. So it just
Okay,
got kind of
got smothered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I actually really like that movie, and Chadwick Boseman plays James Brown. It
cool.
was a really,
I bet he's
really
great.
performance. Yeah, but yeah. See, and
But is it? I wonder if it is that like we got Bohemian Rhapsody, and it was 1 year later, right? Rocket
Yeah,
Man?
it was one later.
I mean, I think
it
it
is like
6 months.
Yeah,
even.
you're
the
right.
audience fatigues at a different rate that critics maybe do. I don't know, like
Well,
because like before Bohemian Rhapsody has been if 2014 was the last one that wasn't like Straight Outta Compton, which is a very particular type of biopic.
Yeah.
Or it appeals to a very different kind of audience.
Yeah.
Than
More
necessarily
recent in history.
Yes.
I don't think it's audience fatigue. I mean, look at Marvel. We have a new superhero movie every 3 to 4 months. And
But they're all amazing. That's my point.
They are, but these two are also amazing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would
They
say.
were.
I mean, it seems like Bohemian Rhapsody was good, not great.
It's good.
It seems
It's got
like
some-
Rocket Man is great, not amazing.
Yeah, kind of. And my kind of point was that Bohemian Rhapsody kind of hit all the necessary markers for a music biopic that people had seen before.
Yeah.
Audiences,
It made them feel the
because
feels.
It was comfortable. It was, they kind of knew what to expect, and they got exactly what they expect. Whereas Rocket Man kind of bumped those expectations and gave them something a little different. Wasn't as comfortable, wasn't as, it wasn't that comfort food music biopic that Bohemian Rhapsody was, and therefore it didn't do as well. And so, but critics liked it because it was something different, and they didn't
Well,
have
I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. I think a big part of it, and we talk about this a lot in film, is the classical Hollywood film and how it's easily digestible. Right? We have easy to understand arcs, very non-linear and
Clear narration,
invisible editing, right? Where you're not really noticing the cuts or the jump in tones, or in Rocket Man you go from just like a drama basically to a musical instantly, right?
Yeah.
And that's jarring to an audience. More Bohemian Rhapsody where you're kind of following, my mic there, where you're following a whole narrative and there's nothing kind of crazy that just kind of pulls you out of it. And it kind of goes back to, that's why these movies like Avatar and Avengers Endgame, they're getting the highest grosses of all time. Yeah, they're big blockbusters, but they're also digestible for an every-going audience, and they're not trained like we are to watch films and to dissect them like Parasite. And I wouldn't say Parasite's complicated, but I'm saying at least we're watching movies and we're analyzing them and breaking down structure and acts and beats and that kind of stuff,
Right.
and we have that ability because we've studied it.
What about La La Land, though? I mean, if La La Land's one of the most recent pure musical. There's a lot of people that don't like calling it that because it has like 3 or 4 songs, and most musicals has like 10.
Yeah.
But
Well, also keep in
that's
mind,
got huge response.
well, with who though? Let's
Musicals
look.
have seemed to do fairly well lately.
Yeah,
I mean,
look at the great.
No one's surprised.
The Greatest Showman
Exactly.
did great.
Yeah. Is that a musical really?
Oh yeah,
I haven't seen it. I hear it's great.
It's great. That's still. I would say Rocket Man's almost more of a musical than it is.
Oh, I would too.
Yeah, I would say too. It's like
sure.
a mix of the both. I mean, definitely. But I would say it's closer to musical than drama, but it's not a full blown musical. Let's look at this.
I mean, they
real
did
quick.
well. $30 million budget, $440 million profit.
They did
So
good.
it did better internationally probably than.
It probably did.
Man,
But
I feel like all the actors around here just like attach themselves to that.
It's got a
movie. 'Cause, I mean,
91
you
Which
get
one?
it, La La Land.
Oh,
Just
right.
because of the arc is very like leaving your small
Yeah.
town to go make it in
Oh,
LA.
yeah.
You know,
What's-
it's the
it's
it's
got
the
a 91%
visualization of the dream.
on there, and also you also think you have think about the cast too. You have Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody, where he's not really that well known other than like Mr. Robot. And then you have Taron Egerton, and who knows him besides Kingsman? Even then, that's kind of niche.
Is that the
market.
only thing he's really been into?
I mean, there's a Hugh Jackman movie where he's a skier.
Oh yeah, Eddie the Eagle.
Eddie the
And
Eagle.
What was the other
I
one
never
he
saw that.
did
It looked good.
with,
Oh man,
I can't. It's gonna.
yeah, no, it's
He
driving
did
me crazy.
another one that was
Okay.
He's done some good stuff, but then you have Ryan Gosling. Like that's
Yeah.
a name.
And Emma
Stone.
And Emma
Yeah,
Stone,
Emma Stone.
and she's there. They're both in everything.
Which
Emma Stone.
though, to be fair, La La Land kind of made Emma Stone as A-listy as she is now.
Yeah.
Like I don't like. Well, I think the year after La La
you
Land,
mean-
she was the highest paid actress in Hollywood.
You mean the Amazing Spider-Man 2 did it first?
Yeah, that right.
And it had that, it was writing
Zombieland did more for than that.
writing that crazy stupid love chemistry
man.
between them.
Gosh, they felt like they were in everything together for like 3-4 movies.
Yeah, they were in another one.
They were.
Gangster Squad, maybe.
It was Gangster Squad
Was it?
with Josh
Okay.
Brolin. Have you seen Gangster Squad?
No.
I like
That one got
movie.
chopped to pieces too.
It did. I kind of like it actually.
It's
so fun.
Ruben Flesher, your favorite director.
Oh, yeah.
Zombieland too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is the plot of that also I slept with someone and now the plot is here?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
Sean Penn tries to kill him.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like that movie. Actually, I think it's fun.
Well, getting back to the topic, I agree with you, Philip. I'm just gonna whack that. I do think like just because the job of a critic is to watch everything
Right.
and really to convey that in as emotive of a way as possible, and to really critics. The top critics write like essays basically about the films, and they flow like almost like poetry, And so I think that almost is just for other critics when you get to that level, right? Like, because almost your average moviegoer.
I mean, everybody kind of who, you want to be Ebert or you want to be Pauline Kael, or like everybody wants to write to where in their mind they feel like they would get the approval of these people who become like iconic critics and stuff. But, I always try to keep and my opinion means nothing, but like,
You got experience. You've been doing this for years.
We'll kind of talk about it. These guys are going to do my show on this week and, or whenever this comes out. Sorry.
This will come out Friday.
Okay.
On the big pod.
Will it Friday?
Yeah, with the
We're
main pod.
Well, you might be able to hop over and
three
see
in a
them
row?
review Invisible Man with me. But
Yeah, I thought that's what we said.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, it'll come out when it comes out, guys.
Okay, man.
You're just gonna be patient, okay?
Yeah.
but like we're gonna see a horror movie,
Right.
and
Yeah.
like I'm gonna approach that like, does this accomplish
What horror movies do.
it sets out to do, and will it satisfy the audience that it's aiming to satisfy?
Right.
I'm not gonna compare it to
Yeah.
Parasite or
Sure.
1917,
Of course.
or any movie that was up for Best Picture, because that's not what
It's not fair to those filmmakers.
Right,
And
right.
just the genre that it's in.
exactly.
Here's another thing you kind of mentioned, Daniel mentioned this about being emotive or streamlined in a response. And you talking about how reviewers are making, say, long form reviews for other critics, but also there's kind of this trend now, it seems like, to get that blurb out there. Either, it's to get on the poster to like, this is the best movie of the year. This is the best blockbuster of the year, best MCU movie. Or there's those people who just want to buck the trend and like, take down that Rotten Tomatoes score because they can, right? It's a fine movie maybe to most people, but then that person's like, this is garbage or trash just so they can make a headline. Like, is that dangerous? Like, what's the power that a critic has, and like, how does it affect, if honestly, it feels like Rotten Tomatoes kind of controls a lot of people's perception of
It
movies
controls
now,
public opinion.
which is kind of scary to
and,
me.
and the way, and obviously, I would hope our listeners know, like, the Rotten Tomatoes score aggregation is not great.
It's not.
Because basically, it's either fresh or stinky or whatever.
Right.
And
Rotten.
and that's at like a 50%, right? Like if
I think it's 60, right?
Is it 60?
I
Okay,
think so, yeah.
So if you rated a film a 60 out of 100, 6 out of 10, that's fresh.
Right.
But who wants to go watch a 6 out of 10 movie? Like that's a
Well, and even if you give it a 5 out of 10, like that's average.
right.
That's
Well,
average
and let's say
movie.
everyone rates it a 6 out of 10. Everyone says it's
Right.
average. It's going to have like a 90% Rotten Tomatoes
Right,
score,
right, exactly.
which
Yeah.
is
Which is
such
crazy.
a disconnect between what the actual reviews reflected.
Yeah, it's so
But then
interesting.
everyone checks his Rotten Tomatoes now. I mean, movies are putting Rotten Tomato scores on their promotions.
And
Right.
unfortunately, and you'll know this on the Blu-rays.
On the
which
Blu-rays,
I
yeah.
fucking hate that.
On like the steelbook covers.
Well, no,
They'll
the
put little
steelbooks,
stickers on the.
but sometimes on the actual like the
the
slip
slip
cases,
covers, yeah.
it'll be embedded into the
Certified
case.
fresh.
And
Yep.
Oh my god, I hate it. It ruins the artwork. I'm like,
And it's just a stupid thing that doesn't actually mean anything.
it means nothing.
Yeah.
It is that like you kind of thought for a while there that like critic influence was kind of going away, you know, and I don't know, it might have been 10, 15 years ago when this was happening, but like with the rise of social media and everything, and it
Rise of
feels like-
Letterboxd.
Yeah.
You know. Are
I
you
do
on
love
Letterboxd?
I do love
Yeah.
Letterboxd.
Man.
Chris Pistol was on here and he kind of
I love
talked
it.
us into Letterboxd. It
Dude,
sounds good.
yeah.
I've never done it, but I might.
It's fun.
How
Just
many
keep
how
it
many have you
visual.
seen Letterboxd?
I can tell you.
Really?
I'll check.
You have to
Please.
look.
I'll check after the show.
I'm right at 2330 is where I'm at right now.
Oh god, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like all time.
All
or-
time.
Okay, no.
All time. Okay.
I have no.
I
Have
need
you
to
gone back and like
I
marked
think
every
I've
movie you
logged
remember
them
seeing?
since maybe 11.
Oh wow, so a while.
Maybe.
Pretty
I mean,
good
you're almost
chunk.
on 10 years.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I might be lying. It might be 14.
Chris Pistol's like to like 30,000 or some stupid thing. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm
what?
not-
Wow, how's that possible?
I'm like a month.
I don't
behind
know.
on stuff, but-
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I heard
no.
Letterboxd, and I just like lost my train of thought.
No,
so.
but I mean, it's like that kind of stuff. You have so many voices, you know, that you can
Or
go
YouTube
to.
influencers.
Yeah.
Like-
you have so many outlets you can reach out to get an opinion on that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely influencing what people see and what people don't care
It's
to spend their
interesting.
money on.
Yeah, I mean there's also that side of it that like there's this weird like pride when like critics pan a movie
Yeah.
and the users like give it like a 90% user rating or something, and it's like, yeah, fuck the critics. We are the majority. We say what we want or something. I don't know. It's just this weird. Like you definitely saw it with Last Jedi when the critics loved it.
Critics loved
and
it,
the user rating was like one of the lowest ever of a movie.
Right. Of that
and like
caliber.
that would then become like a argument point on like a forum. Like, have you seen the user score? Like, look at this. Like, obviously, the critics got it wrong.
Right.
Is like the message, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's actually true.
And I think
I
a lot
think
of critics loved it because, you know, it wasn't a rehash of A New Hope.
it
you
wasn't
know?
just another Star Wars.
Not
you
the-
know, just
yes,
like
exactly.
it's just
Exactly.
another.
Not to say
rehash.
anything bad about Force Awakens because I really enjoyed
I
that movie.
enjoyed that movie.
I like Force Awakens.
I love it until Star Killer Base comes in, and then I'm
Yeah,
like, what?
see, yeah.
No, it's a perfect Star Wars movie until, and I don't get me wrong, I love Harrison Ford, but when he shows up, the movie starts like kind of falling apart a little bit.
Aggressive a
Do you
little
want to
Yeah.
turn this into another Star Wars podcast?
I mean, I'm
Okay,
always game.
I mean, it was teetering. I was about to make
We'll
another
turn the lights
comment
red and blue and we'll
on
get going.
Force Awakens, and it was going to rabbit hole.
Oh man, I know, I love it. No, also it's interesting though is like, and I kind of thought of this random. I'm not sure it ties to anything. Is like whenever I'm a movie comes out, there's a few of those critics that like I kind of follow, and I'm like, man, what are their thoughts? And like I immediately go to them and like look at the score just because like, hey, I know their taste, or sometimes it's not even their taste. It's just like this big conglomerate thinks a certain thing, and I'm just fascinated for some weird reason of what they think, even though typically, like say example, IGN sometimes has the most ass backwards way of like, you know, they have different reviewers and everything else,
Sure.
but I'm like fascinated by like what their scores are and stuff. And like, it means nothing,
Yeah.
but like, I'm like, I know what the IGN score
Yeah,
is, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's-
You want to know the score. I mean, everyone scrolls to the bottom and sees the score, but
that's all I do. Yeah.
you know, I do think you're right. We're kind of at an age where, at least our generation and younger, we're so connected to so many different content creators, podcasters, YouTubers, whatever it is. And most of those at least provide some sense of a movie review, reaction. You know, even like the video game podcasts I listen to will have a movie review like show on there.
Okay.
And I think it really is like people are getting to a point where we just know people on the internet that we trust. Like I know I can point out someone and say like, you know what? 90% of the time if they like something, I usually do too. We kind of have similar tastes.
Right.
So if I'm going to figure out what if I really think I'd like a movie, I'm going to be going to a source that I know, hey, if they have an opinion on it, it's a very good chance it'll be my opinion.
Yeah.
Where 30 years ago, critics were just names in the paper, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like it was just a byline in the paper. And, you know, other than Roger Ebert,
You didn't know anybody's
yeah,
personality.
exactly.
Or,
Or
anything.
you might get, I mean, like we have here, like we have our local movie reviewer. I'm blanking on his name. It's the guy in the Democrat Gazette here.
Oh, Philip Martin?
Yes, Philip Martin. The problem is you have the same name, and I was like,
Yeah.
Philip, but that's not right.
No,
This
that's-
is Philip. But like, it makes sense that people around here. He's been reviewing movies a long time
Forever,
here,
yeah.
so it's like, oh, I know Philip.
Yeah.
But in other situations, in big cities and other places, they don't have that, so they go to who they know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's who they trust. You know, like I feel like that who knows what in 30 years. Do you guys think we still have critics and critic reviews in the same way they have now?
I don't know. I mean, so many people are doing it.
Yeah,
because
that's
they
another thing.
enjoy
The
it
market is
and-
so saturated now.
Yeah, and like so many people are doing it on their own without a backer or financer, whatever. That
Like us.
you're right, exactly.
Pay us.
Will there be an actual profession, where people can make a living doing it? I don't know. What do you think?
It's really hard. I don't know. Like I think I could see it going away, but at the same time, it could very well still be there, and it wouldn't surprise me.
I think there will always be maybe like 2 or 3 major, like you got Variety or the Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah,
Entertainment
the
Weekly.
Hollywood
Like,
Reporter will always be there.
Like there's those.
Yeah, I mean Variety and Hollywood Reporter. There's a third one I'm trying to think of. Like there's like
Deadline.
maybe it's Deadline. There's like I remember when I worked at Skydance, there was 3 magazines I had to deliver to every executive's desk, and it was like it meant nothing. It was just like we have Variety in the lobby. It's just like Jesus, like anyway. That's like a little side story for you, but it's like goddamn. I think there's always going to be outlets like that, and the outlets and the way they distribute that information may be different. Of course, going forward, I think we might move away from paper, and of course, but I don't know. I don't know.
I think it probably just depends on what happens with social media and YouTube and content creators in general. Like, are we going to get to a point where there's still millions of content creators on YouTube, or will there be like 50 to 100 top dogs, big dogs,
Right.
basically? They're your conglomerates.
It just kind of cycles around
it
to
turn-
what
it-
it was
yeah.
with papers.
Yeah, or that, or like it just turns into another entertainment industry where
Right.
the rich people own everything, and that's all there is, really.
I mean,
right?
it will probably swell at some point with like the top dogs, and the ones that can't really break into it or get bored of it because they don't have results will fall off.
Right.
Yeah.
And the game there is just to kind of keep making content, whether it takes years.
Right, but I'm just saying I could see a world where we basically have reviews the same way as they are now, but we get them on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's basically the same
we-
format. There's big parties, and we kind of all go to the same places for review scores or review reactions. But instead of it being papers, it's YouTube channels or something. I could see that
for sure.
because I do think to some extent
that's already happening to some
That's
extent.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, almost every legitimate news outlet has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That they post their news stories basically just read aloud.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, I think there are way too many content creators and not enough audience for everyone to be sustainable, right? Like that's impossible. And I do wonder if we're ever going to have like a YouTube bubble where everyone's just going to be like,
I was actually leading to that question. When does it burst or does it? Do we reach that point and does everything kind of fall off?
My question is, when does the servers like fuck up and then we lose,
Yeah,
we
they
lose
gotta have
everything?
a lot. I mean, like there's no upload limit for YouTube.
How's that possible?
I don't know.
They must compress. I don't know how it works.
I'm sure they compress.
That's a
but
different
man,
topic.
they probably just have like warehouses of servers, warehouses
They
on
have
warehouses,
to. They have probably a whole
building.
just super team just working on those damn servers all the time.
Yeah, not my
Oh my God.
department.
Yeah. No. What was the question?
Yeah. Right?
No, I mean, I think that's. I mean, I feel like.
No. I was,
He was asking, do we think that's going to happen? Like, is YouTube going to burst?
Or,
Are we-
I mean, social media in general.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
everything.
content
That might be a
creation,
big-
'cause you
too
loop-
big of a question. For
Well, I
this
think you
topic.
can
No,
loop
I
YouTube
think-
in with like Patreon and like these other like content creator platforms.
I think everything bursts eventually. I think things will get something with it either happens or becomes outdated, and then something replaces it, and then everything just gets funneled to that, and then we just kind of always circle back. So look at we had Facebook, and now we have Instagram and Twitter attached to that, and I mean maybe we'll never lose Facebook, but it wouldn't surprise me.
It
And
doesn't seem like we will.
in 20, 30 years though, with something, what's next? What's next?
but
Facebook.
Facebook is about to be so much. It already is so much more than a
It-
social
it
media
is.
platform,
It
and
is.
that's why it will never go away.
Right.
It
because
is.
were smart. Actually,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like them how they were smart. They're kind of devious, but they were. Zuckerberg was smart to be like, cool. We're not just MySpace because that goes away.
Right.
Now we're going to be doing
Right.
all this other shit.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we'll see. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's empire. My point is, empires always rise and fall, and it just depends. And I think that applies to even entertainment. I mean, look at the Westerns were the MCU of the day, and they went away. And then
They're kind of making a renaissance, but in a different tone.
exactly. And now MCU is like superhero movies is like the new. I call it the heroic age of cinema. There you go. You like that?
That's kind of nice.
That's a Donovan
That'll
Thompson.
be in a textbook someday.
That's a D Thompson original right there.
And they're about to test their bubble. I feel like.
They're
Yeah.
testing it.
I mean, they've hit their peak.
every year
So we're
they
about to figure out is it a bubble right after the peak or is it going to be a slower decline?
every year
very
it's
intrigued as
it's oversaturated market and they're going to burst and it's like, well, we just broke records again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know.
I think the thing is with Avengers movies, Marvel movies, is that even if you're kind of tired of it, it's still fun to watch.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? I'm a little fatigued by it. Like I was a little fatigued even before Endgame. Oh no, sorry, Infinity. I was feeling fatigued before Infinity War, and then I watched Infinity War. I was like, oh my god,
I wasn't.
I am
I'm
like
a true believer.
I was just kind of like, more like it was just feeling like
Wow.
some of the
Give
same
it-
plots,
give it
some of
to
the
me
same
now.
origin stories over and over again. But man, then Infinity War happened. I was like, okay, never mind.
This is-
I
this
love
is
it, and I
unrel-
want all of it.
This is unrelated to our main topic, but
Which is
one reason
a
that
normal
one reason that works
episode.
though is because they've been smart where they fold in other genres into each film. If you know that they
sure.
like
Yeah.
if Logan's a Western kind of noir film, you
Ant-Man's
have-
a heisty food
yeah,
movie,
Winter Soldier's a spy, like a 70s spy
Espionage,
thriller film. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how they're keeping relevant. And of course they're gonna, who knows how long they can last, but anyway.
We'll see what happens because it's Bob Iger stepped down today.
I saw that.
I know.
And then who knows what's gonna happen? with all
Who
that.
knows?
Maybe
it's very curious.
Star Wars will get better.
Well, Kevin Feige's going to make Star Wars.
Yeah,
we got a lot.
At
They
least
got a lot
one.
happening. At least one.
yeah. So we'll see. But
No, well, I think we did it for this podcast
Yeah,
today.
some good discussion.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Philip, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
I
of course.
appreciate it. This
And-
is awesome.
Yeah, well,
And where can we find you again?
Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction on YouTube, and then on all the social media platforms, the ones we were just kind of dogging on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, those suck. Now go follow us.
But go follow us. Yeah, search Initial Reaction on there. You can follow us, and like I said, we do reviews of the biggest movie releases every week. We review them right out of the gate, so definitely check us out. I'd appreciate it.
perfect. And Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
They can go to 241. Oh God,
Jesus.
I did it again. This is the second episode recording, and this is the second time
Jesus.
I've flopped. It's been a week.
It's okay.
It's been a week.
It's okay.
bit.ly/241mail. That is bit.ly/241mail. This is why I have a visual aid in case I mess it up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
And try to be like Joel Williams and write in with all your cool DC extra stories. And if you don't have
more
those,
audiences. Actually, this is a funny. Mark's the guy that's going to be. We're going to be shooting an upcoming social series for a client. Mark's the guy that's playing Mr. Gimmick. He was a bad boy. He was an extra in Bad Boys for Life as a police officer.
What?
He's got photos of it. Yeah,
I will. It's awesome.
yeah. I knew you'd love that because you love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Bad Boys. I like me some Bad
He's
Boys.
got a bunch of photos of him like being on the set and stuff.
Hey, real quick, did you like Bad Boys for Life?
Dude, I love Bad Boys for Life.
Here's another question. Do you like Bad Boys 2?
Bad Boys 2 is better than Bad Boys 1.
Dude, you're right, man. You're totally
Dude,
right.
Bad Boys 2.
Maybe
Bad Boys
you guys
2.
should have a podcast.
I mean,
together.
how old were you when you saw that the first time? Not to add another conversation on here.
It was my first the rave movie ever, and I was like, "There's a movie theater like this in Arkansas."
you're from Batesville, yeah.
2000.
It was 03.
It was 03, so
Yeah.
I was 11. Yeah.
Oh, dang. So, see, I was 03. I was 16.
Okay.
Oh, perfect age for that.
And
Like,
it was like the first like big R-rated movie
Oh, yeah,
I saw
yeah.
in a theater. And I was like,
it give you everything you wanted.
I was like, this
Boobs,
is insane.
booze, cussing. It's like the quintessential
I mean-
teenager watching a
Yeah.
acting out movie.
I think it's Michael Bay's.
It's just the epitome of everything.
It's
he
just
does.
so good.
you think it's better than Transformers 1?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
It's so funny too. It's
I like
so
Transformers
funny.
1, but
I do.
they're hilarious in it.
Mm-hmm.
The action is, you gotta give him credit. He can do action sequence, especially back in the day when he had the Rock, of course, and Bad Boys 2 and Bad Boys 1. Like there's
Yeah.
there's a certain, he's good, man. He's
The
good.
scale of it's I mean, I wonder how it was even made.
It makes no sense, but
No.
it's amazing. It's
No.
incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, we
And
can.
I've always loved Will Smith. So.
Oh man,
I love Will Smith for
So,
sure.
I love Will
and
Smith.
Martin. I mean, not to
Oh
take
man,
Martin down any. Like I would
Yeah.
watch Martin.
Martin
Def
Lawrence
Jam
is
and all
awesome.
that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, another question, just because
and-
we're talking about this. You like Blue Streak with Martin Lawrence?
dude, I love Blue
Dude,
Streak.
they're amazing. Dude,
I know what they're
He's
talking
the
about.
best, dude. Him and Luke Wilson, man.
Oh,
Luke
it's
Wilson
so
needs to be
good.
more shit.
Yeah, but
Oh, man.
he
Luke
did
Wilson
little
had
dance thing.
that peak.
He had,
It was like Starsky and Hutch, which I think is funny.
dude. Starsky's great.
Yeah, I like Starsky and Hutch.
What is those?
He
Wedding
was the lead in
Crashers.
Old School. No, that's Owen. That's Owen.
Yes, you're right.
Luke
Yeah,
is old
Starsky-
school.
Starsky
is
Luke is
yeah,
old
yeah.
school, and he's
But
just got
he's
that
in a lot of
yeah.
Owen's movies.
He
like,
is,
as
yeah,
like
yeah.
as bit parts or something.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff with Wes Anderson, Bottle Rocket.
Yeah. he
That's
does,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
they're and I.
They came-
That's probably
they-
my favorite roles for
they came
most.
up with it. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, they're like childhood friends.
right.
Wes
right.
Anderson
They went to
and them,
college
right?
together and stuff.
That's
in
right. That's
Oh, I
right.
guess
Yeah.
I didn't know
Texas, I
that.
think.
That's why they all have
So,
the same
anyways,
hair.
guys, French Dispatch trailer.
Yeah, exactly. It looks. Oh man, the shot. Sorry, guys.
French Dispatch. Hey, you
sh-
get what you get.
The shot. I was like having I was kind of pissed off. I think I was just in a bad mood that morning here at work or
You've
something.
been in a bad mood a few times.
Yeah,
That
And-
checks out.
And the shot where they all bust into the house and the cops, I literally like laughed out loud in the office. It brought me out of my like dour mood for like 5 seconds. It was incredible.
It looks wonderful. I will say, it looks like straight up Grand
say,
Budapest 2.
It does.
You know,
I saw
it's
you
like,
say that.
It's just like I loved Grand
I was
Budapest.
gonna say, I love
love
Grand
Wes
Budapest.
Anderson.
Right.
But it does. It's the first time that I feel like I'm watching a movie and like this feels like a direct art style.
Yeah.
Even just the 4:3 aspect ratio, the colors, the kind of. Oh, we lost a light.
We lost a light.
Now we have this great moody light.
Ooh, there we go.
It's like-
sexy.
You're right. This is sexy.
This is sexy.
Should we take our shirts off?
No,
I don't know.
With spare our audience.
I'm thinking
Gonna
about
turn
it.
into some Sonic porn.
There you go.
Exactly.
Oh.
Sonic porn Easter egg. Okay.
Um,
Can Sonic porn be one of the hashtags that we use on the YouTube?
Put that as the
'Cause I
main
think we
one
need
right
to
under
get-
the video.
I think we need to get some audiences crossover from the Sonic porn people. I think they might like our stuff.
yeah, and I think we have an untapped potential.
That's right.
in the medium.
That's right.
Well, speaking of Blue Streak and Sonic Porn and Bad Boys for Life, that's our episode. And
a good one.
It was nice to have you on here, Phillip,
Yeah,
again.
thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it
if
was
you want
fun.
to find us, of course, find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, we have our website up now, podcast241.com. It's your hub for everything Podcast 241. Our links are to YouTube there. Everything you want to know, we got
Check
it.
out our bios.
Check out our
funny.
sweet under 500 word bios.
Actually, his is normal.
Yeah, they
Mine's
are.
funny.
Yeah,
Yours
mine-
is just a straight bio.
Yeah, mine's actually legit bio. Yours is
Yeah,
like,
you're like
I'm boring and blah
yeah.
blah blah. Yeah, and yours is
Yeah, I make a lot of grand claims.
yeah, a lot of Sonic porn references.
There was a lot of Sonic porn in
There
my
was.
bio. Yeah,
There was.
I even did a little sketch.
Yeah, and
Check it out.
Does it have hyperlink?
It needs to.
every word should
there's
be a
special
different
hyperlinks that
hyperlink.
automatically open. There's special words that hyperlinks that automatically open an incognito browser. So you're good. I got you. I got you, baby.
Well, I think we did it. And,
Definitely did.
and
We did something.
yeah, my name is Donovan Thompson,
Daniel Wingfield.
Phillip Price.
and we have spoken.